Thank you. I rise today in sadness to note the death of Sudan, this planet's last male northern white rhinoceros. On Monday, Joseph Wachira from Old Pajeta Wildlife Conservancy in Kenya comforted Sudan before he passed away. In the words of Leonardo DiCaprio, we are witnessing the extinction of a species that had survived for millions of years but could not survive mankind. Sudan had been an inspirational rhino across the world, and thousands had come to Old Pajeta in Kenya to see him, raising awareness of rhino conservation. 2 female northern white rhinoceroses survive him, and they're surrounded by armed guards 24 hours a day to protect them from poaching. Neither of them, though, are capable of bearing young. The poaching crisis in Africa is one of the most pressing conservation crises of the modern day, and Australia has a role to play in ending it. Each year, between 20,000 and 50,000 elephants are being poached for their tusks. In 2017, 1,028 rhinoceroses were poached in South Africa. From 25 species of rhinoceros 100 years ago, today only 5 species of rhinoceros are left, including those last 2 female northern whites. The extinction of domestic legal markets around the world continues to fuel the poaching crisis in Africa. In the past 2 years, there have been numerous requests for assistance at the United Nations General Assembly and the International Union for Conservation of Nature, as well as through CITES, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wildlife, Fauna and Flora, for member states, like Australia, to take all the necessary steps to close legal domestic ivory markets. This is why domestic bans on trade in ivory and rhino horn are now seriously being considered and implemented by the international community. In 2016, the United States announced a policy to ban all domestic trade in ivory, with state governments passing legislation to implement the nationwide policy. And China, which represents 70% of the global ivory trade, announced in December 2016 that it would close all ivory carving factories and retail outlets in the country by the 31st of December 2017, which is an incredible feat for China, recognising the trade that it consumed. Hong Kong similarly passed legislation in January 2018 with a ban to be implemented by 2020. The European Union and the United Kingdom have recently completed public consultations on policies to implement domestic bans in their jurisdictions. These bans have already had an impact. The wholesale price of ivory has tumbled from $2,100 US to $660 US per kilo. Australia is not immune from contributing to this global problem, both as a consumer market and, given our close proximity to Asia, as a transit route. In the last decade, 322 imported and 79 exported ivory items have been confiscated by Australian authorities, along with 24 rhinoceros products. But there is still a significant regulatory gap in relation to the commercial sale of such products in Australia, including the lack of consistency for ivory and rhinoceros horn provenance documentation. Investigations undertaken a number of years by the International Fund for Animal Welfare across online traders, auction houses and antique dealers found Australia had both a legal and illegal domestic market for elephant ivory and rhinoceros horn, worth thousands of dollars annually. And some industry stakeholders are recognising the role they play in reducing demand for wildlife products, including ivory. Leading Australian auction house Leonard Joel has implemented a policy to cease trading in any rhinoceros and ivory products, while major online trading platforms including eBay, Google and Alibaba have recently joined an international coalition to strengthen policies to reduce trade. The existence of legal domestic markets and legal trade in ivory and rhinoceros horn anywhere is a direct threat to the future of elephants and rhinoceros everywhere. And that is why the Australian government must start playing its role to close our domestic ivory and rhinoceros horn markets now, so that we don't see a further extinction of species of rhinos like Sudan. And so Australia must follow in that step by other nations across the world, and I urge Minister Frydenberg to act on this by doing something about it so that we can see an end to the domestic trade of ivory and rhinoceros horn in Australia.